Ambassador Daewon Kim stood in the massive council chamber, feeling smaller than ever. Around him, hundreds of alien beings sat in their floating chairs talking among themselves. Some were tall and covered in scales. Others glowed with soft light. A few looked like they were made of living crystal. 50 years ago, when humans first came to this place, Kim had felt wonder. Today, he felt only tired. He cleared his throat and began his presentation. Earth wanted better trade routes. They wanted to share technology with other species. For 20 years, humans had helped the Galactic Council. They had sent doctors to heal the sick on distant worlds. They had sent engineers to fix broken stations. They had even fought in wars to protect council members from attacks. Surely, after all this work, they deserved something in return. The council members barely listened. Kim could see them checking their devices, whispering to each other, looking everywhere except at him. When he finished speaking, there was silence. Then Councillor Velshara spoke. She was ancient, her purple skin wrinkled with age, her 6 eyes cold. "Ambassador Kim, your request is noted," she said, her voice dripping with boredom. "However, the Council sees no reason to grant special privileges to such a young species. You humans have only been in space for a few centuries. Come back in 1,000 years and perhaps we will consider it." Other council members laughed. Not kindly, but like adults laughing at a child asking for something foolish. Kim felt his face grow hot. He bowed slightly and left the chamber. Behind him, he heard more laughter and someone saying, "Humans, so impatient. They will probably destroy themselves before they ever matter." Back at the human station, Kim sat with Captain Nari Park and Dr. Jae-sung Lee. The station was small compared to others orbiting this world. Everything about it screamed that humans were not important here. Park poured 3 glasses of Earth whiskey. She was a strong woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "They laughed at us again," Kim said quietly. "Just like always." Dr. Lee nodded. He was younger than the other 2, but his face looked tired. "I have been researching this for months," he said. "We have given them so much. Medical breakthroughs, engineering solutions, peace agreements between warring species. And what have we received? Nothing but insults." Park drank her whiskey in one gulp. "We should leave," she said. "Just pack up and go home. Let them see how well they do without us." Kim looked at her for a long moment. Then he pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. "I already sent a message to Earth," he admitted. "I told them what happened today. I asked for permission to activate Protocol Exodus." The room went silent. Protocol Exodus was the emergency plan. If humans were ever in danger, or if staying in the council became pointless, they could leave. All of them. Everywhere. Just disappear and return to Earth. "When did you send it?" Lee asked. 6 hours ago. The reply should arrive soon." Kim stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the beautiful city on the planet below. Towers of light and metal reaching into the sky. Ships flying between buildings. It was magnificent. And none of it needed humans. "Dr. Lee, show us what you found." Lee activated a hologram. Numbers and graphs filled the air. "For 50 years, we have been sharing our research openly," he explained. "We hoped it would make them respect us. But look at this. Our scientists have made breakthroughs in quantum physics, in medical technology, in artificial intelligence. We kept some of it secret, planning to trade it later. The technology we have hidden is 50 years ahead of anything the Council has." Park whistled softly. "Why did we keep it secret?" "Because we are not fools," Kim said. "We gave them enough to prove our worth. We kept the rest to protect ourselves. If we had shared everything, they would have taken it and still treated us like servants." He looked at his watch. The response from Earth should be here any moment now. They waited in silence. Finally, a light blinked on Kim's device. He read the message, then looked up with a small smile. "Earth says yes. Protocol Exodus is approved. We have 3 weeks to get everyone home." Over the next 21 days, something strange happened across Council space. Human scientists finished their projects and said they needed to return home for family reasons. Human doctors completed their treatments and took long vacations. Human engineers wrapped up their work and left for new assignments. Nobody made announcements. Nobody complained. They just quietly disappeared. The aliens barely noticed. There were thousands of species in the Council. A few hundred humans leaving seemed unimportant. Some aliens even felt relieved. Finally, those annoying humans with their strange ideas and constant questions were going away. On the last day, Kim stood alone in the empty Earth delegation hall. All the furniture was gone. All the computers were packed. The walls were bare. He placed a small crystal on his desk. Inside the crystal was a simple message. The people of Earth thank the Galactic Council for the opportunity to learn and grow. We have decided to pursue independent development. We wish you all well. That was it. No anger, no accusations. Just a polite goodbye. Kim walked through the empty corridors one last time. He remembered the first day humans had arrived here, full of hope and excitement. Now that hope was gone, but something else had replaced it. Pride. They were leaving with their dignity intact. They were not running away in fear. They were walking away because they chose to. Captain Park waited for him at the docking bay. Her ship, the ECS Horizon, was ready to leave. Everyone else is already gone, she said. We are the last ones. Kim nodded and boarded the ship. As they pulled away from the station, he watched it grow smaller in the window. Behind them, something else happened. All the communication relays that connected human space to the Council network went dark. One by one, like lights turning off, the connections disappeared. The galaxy was huge. Humanity controlled only a small corner of it. But that corner was now silent. No messages went in or out. No ships crossed the borders. Automated defense systems activated, politely but firmly telling any visitors that human space was closed. Do you think they will even notice? Park asked as they jumped to faster than light speed. Kim smiled sadly. Eventually, when things start breaking and nobody is there to fix them, when problems arise and nobody is there to solve them, they will notice, but by then it will be too late. The ship carried them home, away from the glittering lights of galactic civilization. Behind them in the council chambers, life continued as normal. Aliens argued about trade agreements and border disputes. They made plans and passed laws, and none of them realized that something important had just slipped away, something they would miss far more than they could imagine. The humans were gone, and the galaxy would never be quite the same again. 6 months passed before anyone in the Galactic Council truly noticed the humans were gone. Counselor Velshara discovered it by accident. She was flying past the human station on her way to a meeting when she realized something was wrong. The station was completely dark. No ships were docked. No lights shone in the windows. She ordered her pilot to dock. Inside, the station was empty. Dust covered the floors. The air was stale and cold. In the delegation hall, she found Kim's message crystal sitting on the bare desk. She played it and listened to the polite goodbye message. Then she left. Finally, she said to her assistant, those irritating humans realized they did not belong here. Good riddance. She reported the departure to High Chancellor Thexel. He was a massive being, his silver skin reflecting light like metal. He barely looked up from his work when she told him. File it under minor administrative matters, he said. Assign their trade routes to other species. Redistribute their research duties. Move on, and that was it. The Council did not send anyone to ask why humans left. They did not try to contact Earth. They simply divided up everything humans had been doing and gave it to other species. At the next full council meeting, a few members joked about human weakness and their inability to handle real galactic politics. Everyone laughed and moved on to more important business, but slowly, quietly, problems began to appear. The Vothians took over the trade routes humans had managed. Within 3 months, shipping times doubled. Costs went up. The Vothians were good traders, but they lacked the humans' strange ability to find shortcuts and solve problems creatively. When merchants complained, the Vothians shrugged. This was simply how long shipping took. If humans had done it faster, that was luck, not skill. Medical stations across the galaxy started running out of certain medicines. The Dravian doctors who replaced the human medical teams were competent, but something was different. Humans had this odd way of looking at diseases from strange angles, combining treatments that should not work but somehow did. Without them, medical research slowed. New cures stopped appearing. People died who might have lived. The Council barely paid attention to these small problems. Every system had inefficiencies. Every change caused some disruption. Things would settle down eventually. Or so they thought. Then came the Gorthak attack. The Gorthak Dominion was an empire of warriors. For centuries, they had stayed at the edge of Council space, occasionally raiding border worlds but never starting a real war. Now suddenly they attacked 3 Council worlds at once. Their ships had new shields that blocked Council weapons. Their tactics were fierce and effective. Panic spread quickly. High Chancellor Thexel called an emergency meeting. Military commanders from a dozen species gathered to plan their response. Admiral Kextor of the Zentari fleet studied the Gorthak shield technology and shook his head. "Our weapons cannot penetrate these shields," he said. "We need to develop new technology quickly." A young Zentari scientist named Rinva spoke up. "There was a proposal in our files. Human scientists designed an adaptive weapon system 5 years ago. It was meant to handle exactly this kind of problem. We rejected it as too complex and expensive." Everyone turned to look at her. "Can we build it now?" Thexel demanded. Rinva pulled up the files and studied them. After a long silence, she shook her head. "The math is extremely complicated. The humans used principles I do not fully understand. We would need months, maybe years, to figure this out, and we would probably need to ask the humans for help." "Then contact them," Velshara snapped. They tried. Every communication channel to human space was dead. Ships were sent to the border. They found automated defense stations surrounding human territory. The stations did not attack, but they broadcast a clear message. "Human space is closed to Galactic Council vessels. Please respect our borders. Thank you." The Council ships tried to push past the defenses. Warning shots were fired, precise and controlled. The message was clear: stay out. The ships returned to Council space empty-handed. For the first time, some Council members began to feel uneasy. The humans were not just hiding. They were actively keeping the Council out. And they had the technology to enforce that decision. The war against the Gorthak dragged on for 8 months. Millions died. Entire fleets were destroyed. Finally, the Council won through sheer numbers and determination. But the victory cost them dearly. Resources were drained, morale was low, and everyone knew the truth. If the humans had been there, the war would have ended much faster and with far fewer deaths. After the war, a Zeltari economist named Drenal published a report. She had been studying the effects of human departure on the galactic economy. Her findings were disturbing. Humans had not been major players in terms of raw economic power, but they had been connectors. They had optimized thousands of small systems. They had solved problems other species did not even notice. They had been the oil that kept the great machine of galactic civilization running smoothly. Without them, the machine was grinding to a halt. Drenal presented her report to the Council. Most members dismissed it. Velshara was particularly scornful. "This economist is exaggerating," she declared. "The humans were helpful perhaps, but hardly essential. We managed the galaxy for thousands of years before they arrived. We will manage fine without them." But some of the younger Council members read Drenal's report carefully. They began to notice things. Trade was slower and more expensive. Medical advances had stopped. Diplomatic disputes that humans used to resolve now escalated into conflicts. Small problems that humans had quietly fixed were now becoming big problems. 1 year after human departure, a junior Vothian counselor named Pelmir stood up during a session. "Perhaps we should formally invite the humans to return," he suggested. Clearly, they contributed more than we realized. High Chancellor Thexel glared at him. "The humans chose to leave. If they cannot handle galactic life, that is their weakness, not our problem. We will not beg them to come back." This discussion is closed. But the discussion was not closed. In private conversations and small meetings, Council members began to talk. Some were worried. Others were angry at being proven wrong. A few were simply curious about what the humans were doing behind their closed borders. And in the shadows, things continued to get worse. Supply chains broke down. Research projects stalled. Old enemies who had been kept peaceful through human mediation began fighting again. The cracks in galactic civilization were growing wider, spreading like ice breaking on a frozen lake. But the Council's leadership refused to see it. They were too proud to admit they had made a mistake, too arrogant to acknowledge that the young, primitive humans had been more important than anyone realized. So they did nothing, and the galaxy slowly began to fall apart. The massive space elevator that connected the planet's surface to orbit suddenly failed. Metal screamed. Cables snapped. The entire structure came crashing down like a falling mountain. Thousands of people died instantly. Thousands more were injured. The economic damage was incalculable. High Chancellor Thexel ordered an immediate investigation. The lead engineer, a Dravian named Kolseth, examined the wreckage for weeks. His final report made the Council chamber fall silent. The maintenance protocols were redesigned 5 years ago by a human engineering team. Kolseth explained. They made the system more efficient and reduced costs by 30%. But their methods were complex. They understood stress dynamics and material fatigue in ways we do not. After they left, our teams followed the protocols without fully understanding them. We missed critical warning signs. The humans would have caught them. Velshara slammed her hand on her desk. This is unacceptable. Our engineers are among the best in the galaxy. Are you saying they are incompetent? Kolseth met her eyes steadily. I am saying the humans thought differently. They saw connections we miss. Without their insights, systems they improved are failing. Before the Council could fully process this news, more disasters followed. On Velith 4, a terraforming project that had been running smoothly for decades suddenly went wrong. The atmospheric processors malfunctioned. Within days, the air became toxic. 15,000 colonists had to be evacuated. The investigation revealed that human scientists had been secretly adjusting the processors to account for unusual geological activity. Without those adjustments, the system had collapsed. A major jump gate network suffered cascading failures. Ships got stranded in deep space. Some were lost forever. The jump gates had been partially redesigned by human physicists who understood quantum mechanics in innovative ways. The current engineers tried to maintain the system but lacked the fundamental knowledge to keep it stable. A medical research station accidentally released a deadly pathogen. The containment protocols, designed by human doctors, had been modified by Zentari scientists who thought they were outdated. The modifications removed safety measures that seemed unnecessary. 12,000 people died before the outbreak was contained. Each disaster pointed to the same problem. Humans had quietly improved countless systems across the galaxy. They had never bragged about it or demanded recognition. They had simply seen problems and fixed them. Now those fixes were unraveling, and nobody knew how to repair them. The scientist Rinva, who had first noticed the human weapons research, began investigating further. She discovered something shocking. Over the past 50 years, humans had contributed to 40% of all major scientific breakthroughs in Council databases. Their research methods were unique. They combined wild creativity with careful testing. They asked questions other species never thought to ask. They made connections that seemed impossible but turned out to be brilliant. Without them, scientific progress had almost stopped. Research facilities across the galaxy were still functioning, but the revolutionary discoveries had ended. Everyone was making small improvements to existing technology. Nobody was inventing anything truly new. Rinva presented her findings to anyone who would listen. Most council members ignored her, but some of the younger scientists paid attention. They began to realize that humanity's departure had created a hole in galactic knowledge that could not easily be filled. The problems were not just technical. Political disasters began multiplying as well. The Kresh and Veldari species had been enemies for thousands of years. Their hatred ran deep, but for the past 30 years, they had maintained an uneasy peace. That peace shattered suddenly when a border dispute erupted into violence. Within weeks, full war had begun. Drenal, the Zelthari economist, investigated this too. She discovered that human diplomats had been the primary mediators between the Kresh and Veldari for 3 decades. The humans had no ancient grudges against either species. They could be truly neutral. They also had a gift for understanding both sides of a conflict and finding creative compromises. Other species had tried to mediate after the humans left, but it never worked. The Zentari favored the Kresh because of old trading partnerships. The Vothians had cultural ties to the Veldari. Every potential mediator had biases. The war spread rapidly, pulling in 6 more species who had alliances with one side or the other. Trade routes closed as war zones expanded. Refugees flooded council worlds, straining resources. The galactic economy, already weakened, took another massive hit. Prices for basic goods doubled, then tripled. Food shortages appeared on worlds that had not known hunger in centuries. The council held emergency sessions every week. Arguments filled the chamber. Accusations flew. Some members blamed Thexel for allowing the humans to leave. Others blamed Velshara for insulting them. Younger members demanded systemic changes. Older members insisted on maintaining tradition. In desperation, the council sent another delegation to human space. This time they brought a formal apology and an invitation to return. 3 ships reached the border of human territory. The automated defenses did not fire, but they did not allow passage either. A recorded message played. It was Ambassador Kim's voice, calm and polite. The people of Earth appreciate the Galactic Council's gesture. However, we have chosen to pursue independent development. We hold no grudge against any species, but we see no benefit in rejoining an organization that did not value our contributions. We wish you all success in your future endeavors. Please do not attempt further contact. The delegation returned with this message. When it was played in the council chamber, the room erupted. Some members were furious at the rejection. Others were humiliated. A few actually laughed at the irony. They had spent 50 years dismissing humans as insignificant. Now those same humans were dismissing them. 3 years after human departure, the Galactic Council was in complete crisis. The economy was collapsing. Wars raged on multiple fronts. Infrastructure was failing weekly. Scientific progress had stopped. Disease and famine were spreading. Everything that humans had quietly supported was falling apart. Drenal published her most comprehensive study yet. She called it the Invisible Pillars. The data showed every way humans had supported galactic civilization, the maintenance they had performed, the problems they had solved, the peace they had maintained, the innovations they had created, the connections they had fostered between different species and systems. The report was thousands of pages long and completely undeniable. Humans had not just been members of the Council, they had been its foundation. And now that foundation was gone, Velshara read the report in her private chambers. For the first time in her long life, she felt truly afraid. She had been so certain of her own superiority, so convinced that ancient species like hers deserved respect, while young species like humanity needed to earn it. She had been completely, catastrophically wrong, and now the galaxy was paying the price for her arrogance. She sat in the darkness of her room and wondered if there was any way to fix what she had broken. Commander Ilshan was not supposed to be where she was. As a Zentari intelligence operative, she had been ordered to stay away from human space. But Ilshan had spent her entire career breaking rules when necessary. She believed the Council needed to know what the humans were doing, so she found an old, abandoned ship with outdated identification codes and used it to slip past the human border defenses. What she discovered made her hands shake as she recorded her observations. Human space had transformed completely. The small, modest stations she remembered were gone. In their place stood massive structures that gleamed with technologies she did not recognize. Ships moved between planets using drives that left no exhaust, no heat signature, nothing but a slight ripple in space itself. Planets that had been barren 3 years ago were now green with life, their atmospheres perfectly balanced. Ilshan managed to intercept some human communications. What she heard shocked her even more than what she saw. The humans were not struggling. They were thriving. In just 3 years, they had advanced technologically in ways that should have taken decades. Their energy systems, their construction methods, their medical capabilities, everything had leapt forward at an impossible pace. She recorded everything and fled back to Council space before human security detected her. The moment she arrived at Zentara Prime, she requested an emergency meeting with High Chancellor Thexel. The council chamber was packed when Ilshen presented her findings. She showed them images of human cities that looked like something from a dream. Ships that moved faster than council vessels, stations powered by energy sources that produced no waste, planets transformed from dead rocks into garden worlds in mere months. This is impossible, Velshara whispered. 3 years. They have been isolated for only 3 years. Ilshen nodded. I investigated this extensively. Here is what I learned. During their 50 years in the council, humans were sharing their breakthrough research freely. They hoped it would earn them respect. But while they were sharing, they were also learning. They studied every alien technology they encountered. They absorbed knowledge from thousands of species. They synthesized all of it into their own unique innovations. She pulled up more data. The humans were always advancing quickly, but they hid most of their progress. They shared enough to seem useful but kept their best discoveries secret. They knew that if they revealed everything, the council would take their technology and still not respect them. Rinva, the Zentari scientist, stood up. So when they left, they took all that accumulated knowledge and finally applied it without restrictions. They stopped sharing and started using everything they had learned. Exactly, Ilshen confirmed. and without the need to constantly explain themselves or justify their methods to the council, their progress accelerated exponentially. The humans have always been innovative. We just forced them to hide it. The chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just survived isolation, they had flourished. The species the council had dismissed as primitive now possessed technology that made council capabilities look ancient. Ilshin played an intercepted communication. It was from Dr. Jae-Sung Lee, who now led Earth's Ministry of Science. He was speaking to other human scientists. We went to the stars as students, hoping to be accepted. We returned to ourselves as masters, ready to forge our own path. Perhaps one day we will meet the council again as equals. But that day is not today. We have work to do. The tone of his voice was not angry or bitter. It was simply confident. The humans had moved on. They did not need the council anymore. They did not even seem to think about the council much. They were focused on their own future. Counselor Velshara stood up slowly. Her voice shook as she spoke. I did this. I and others like me. We treated them like children playing at civilization. We mocked their short lives and their primitive origins. We never saw what they really were. She looked around the chamber. They were better than us, not despite their youth, but because of it. They had not grown rigid and proud. They were still curious, still creative, still willing to learn, and we drove them away. Her legs gave out and she collapsed into her chair. Centuries of arrogance crumbled in that moment. She had built her entire identity on being superior to younger species. Now she realized she had been inferior in the ways that truly mattered. High Chancellor Thexel tried to maintain order, but his authority was meaningless now. Council members shouted at each other. Some blamed him. Others blamed themselves. A few insisted this must be exaggerated, that no species could advance so quickly. But Ilshin's evidence was irrefutable. Over the next few weeks, something unprecedented happened. Several species announced they were leaving the council. The Zelthari were first. Drenal, their economist, explained their decision calmly. This council has proven itself incapable of recognizing value. We will not make the same mistake with humanity. We are going to approach them directly and offer genuine partnership. The Zelthari sent a small delegation to human space. They did not demand entry. They did not expect special treatment. They simply asked if humanity would consider trade and cultural exchange on equal terms. No begging. No offers of technology that humans clearly did not need. Just mutual respect. After 2 weeks, the Zelthari received a response. Humanity agreed to limited contact. Trade could begin. Cultural exchanges were welcome, but it would all be based on equality and mutual benefit. The Zelthari accepted immediately. Other species saw this and followed. The Vothians, the Dravians, even some of the younger Zentari clans left the council to pursue independent relationships with humanity. The 1,000-year-old alliance was fracturing. Species were choosing unknown futures with humanity over the failing structure of the council. Thexel watched his empire crumble. Every day another species departed. The council that had ruled the galaxy for millennia was dying, and he had helped kill it by being too proud to value the humans when it mattered. Then the Gorthak returned. The Gorthak Dominion had been watching the council's collapse with great interest. They saw weakness and opportunity. Their massive fleet gathered at the edge of council space. Intelligence reports showed they had upgraded their weapons and shields. They had more ships than ever before, and they were coming for Zentara Prime. The council military was depleted from years of disasters and wars. Morale was terrible. Equipment was outdated. When military advisors gave their projections, the news was devastating. If the Gorthak attacked, the council would lose. Zentara Prime would fall. Billions would die. High Chancellor Thexel sat alone in his office, staring at the reports. His entire life had been dedicated to maintaining the council's power and prestige. Now he faced a choice that would have been unthinkable a few years ago. He could let the council die proudly, or he could do something that would humble him completely. He made his decision. He ordered his personal ship prepared. He would go to human space himself. He would beg for help if necessary. Pride no longer mattered. Only survival did. The mighty High Chancellor of the Galactic Council was going to ask the species he had dismissed as insignificant to save his civilization. High Chancellor Thexel waited for 3 days at the edge of human space. His mighty flagship sat idle while automated defenses scanned it. Finally, a message arrived. Ambassador Daewon Kim, now Earth Secretary of External Affairs, would see him. Coordinates for a human station were provided. When Thexel's ship docked, he was amazed at what he saw. The human station was magnificent. Clean lines, elegant design, technology humming with quiet power. His own flagship, once a symbol of council superiority, looked crude in comparison. The message was clear without a single word spoken. Power had shifted completely. Kim met him in a simple conference room. The human had aged, his hair now gray, but his eyes were sharp and clear. He greeted Thexel with professional courtesy, nothing more. No warmth, but no hostility either. Just the politeness one might show a stranger. They sat across from each other. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Thexel did something no High Chancellor had done in recorded history. He bowed his head. "I was wrong," he said simply. "The Council was wrong. We treated your people with disrespect and arrogance. We dismissed your contributions and mocked your efforts. You deserved better, and we failed to see your worth. For this I apologize." Kim listened without expression. When Thexel finished, he asked a single question. "Why are you here?" Thexel explained everything. The Gorthak fleet massing for attack. The Council's military unable to defend itself. Billions of lives hanging in the balance. He did not ask for technology or demand intervention. He simply asked whether humanity thought galactic civilization was worth saving, despite all its flaws. Kim stood and walked to the window. Outside, human ships moved through space with impossible grace. "I need to discuss this with my government," he said. "Wait here." The meeting on Earth was intense. Kim presented the situation to the government council. Military leaders were there, including Admiral Nari Park, who now commanded humanity's entire fleet. Dr. Lee attended as head of the science ministry. The debate was fierce. "Let them fall," one general argued. "They earned this fate through their own arrogance. Why should we risk our people to save those who never valued us?" Others disagreed. "Billions of innocent civilians will die. They did nothing wrong. Their leaders were foolish, but that does not mean everyone deserves to suffer." Admiral Park spoke last. "We did not leave because we are cruel. We left because we were not respected. But revenge is not the same as justice. If we let billions die when we could prevent it, we become the monsters they thought we were. I say we help them, but on our terms." The vote was close, but Park's argument won. Humanity would intervene, but the galaxy would have to change. No more hierarchies based on age. No more founding species holding permanent power. True equality for all, or humanity would walk away again. Kim returned to Thexel with the decision. The Chancellor listened to humanity's terms and nodded. "I accept. We will restructure everything. Just please help us survive." The Gorthak fleet arrived at Zentara Prime expecting easy victory. The battered Council defense fleet was there, ships damaged and crews exhausted. The Gorthak commander prepared to issue demands for surrender. Then something unexpected happened. Space rippled. 30 human warships appeared from nowhere, materializing through quantum jump points. The Gorthak sensors went wild trying to analyze the ships. They were like nothing anyone had seen before. Sleek, powerful, and radiating energy signatures that made no sense. Admiral Park opened communications. Her face appeared on every Gorthak screen. "Gorthak fleet, this is Admiral Park of Earth Defense Forces. You will cease your attack immediately and withdraw from Council space." The Gorthak commander laughed. "You are outnumbered 5-1, human. Your arrogance will cost you everything." "Then let us demonstrate," Park replied calmly. What followed was not a battle. It was a lesson. Human ships moved with perfect coordination, their weapons firing with surgical precision. Gorthak vessels found their shields useless against human technology. But the humans did not destroy the ships. They disabled them. Weapon systems went offline. Engines stopped. Life support remained intact. Within 6 hours, the entire Gorthak invasion force was neutralized, floating helpless in space. Not a single Gorthak soldier had died. Admiral Park contacted the Gorthak commander again. "Your crews are alive. Your ships are intact but powerless. You have a choice. Accept defeat with honor and withdraw, or we will be forced to destroy your fleet. We prefer not to kill if we can avoid it. What will you choose?" The Gorthak commander stared at the human admiral. His species respected strength above all else. The humans had demonstrated overwhelming power but also mercy. This was a combination the Gorthak had never encountered. Finally, he bowed his head. "We withdraw. Your mercy is noted and will be remembered. Human ships towed the disabled Gorthak vessels to the edge of Council space, repaired their engines just enough to return home, and sent them away. Centaura Prime was saved. The Council had survived. In the aftermath, humanity presented their demands formally. The Galactic Council would be dissolved and reformed as the Galactic Commonwealth. All species would have equal votes. Leadership would rotate. Decisions would be made democratically. No species would be considered superior or inferior, based on age or technological level. High Chancellor Thexel stood before the assembled council one final time. I accept these terms completely. As my last act as High Chancellor, I resign. Let the new Commonwealth begin without the failures of the old system. He stepped down from his position, his head held high despite his humiliation. The council voted to restructure. Ambassador Kim was nominated to lead the new Commonwealth. He declined gracefully. I appreciate the honor, but I think Dranal would be better suited. She saw the truth when others were blind. She has earned this position. The Zilthari economist became the first speaker of the Commonwealth. In her acceptance speech, she was direct. We must learn from this disaster. Value is not determined by age or tradition. Every species has gifts to offer. Every perspective matters. Never again will we be so blind. The years that followed were difficult but hopeful. Humanity did not fully rejoin galactic society immediately. They maintained their independence while cooperating on specific projects. They shared some technology, but only with species that demonstrated genuine partnership and respect. Dr. Lee established the Academy of Collaborative Science on Earth. Students from across the galaxy were invited to learn human methods of creative problem solving. Graduates of the Academy became the new generation of leaders and innovators, spreading human philosophy throughout the Commonwealth. Even Velshara found redemption. She wrote a memoir called The Folly of Arrogance, detailing her mistakes and the lessons she learned. It became required reading at the Academy, a warning about the dangers of pride and prejudice. 10 years after humanity's departure, Ambassador Kim attended a celebration of the Commonwealth's first decade. He was older now, his hair completely white but his eyes still sharp. Speaker Drenal invited him to address the assembly. Kim's speech was brief. We left because we were strong enough to walk away from what did not serve us. We returned because we remembered something important. We are all neighbors in this galaxy, and neighbors help each other, especially when they have learned from their mistakes. The old council failed because it valued tradition over merit. This Commonwealth will succeed because it values what truly matters, the contributions each species makes, the respect we show each other, and the future we build together. Our greatest gift to the galaxy was not our technology. It was teaching you all a simple lesson. Never take your friends for granted, because one day they might just walk away, and you will finally realize what you lost. The assembly rose in respectful silence, then erupted in genuine applause. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in years it was also hopeful. Humanity had left quietly, returned decisively, and changed the galaxy forever.